Hi, I'm Janet Newman, author of Living in the Chemical Age, and I have a very special guest with me today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Shippy, and I help people be safe in our chemical age.
About 8 years ago, my family and I were hit with many different health issues, and I began to do some research into all these different health issues that we were facing, and what I discovered was that they all had a common denominator, and that was environmental toxins. Dr. Shippy, I'm so glad that you're here today because Dr. Shippy is not only a functional medicine specialist and physician, but she also has 2 children like me, and she has written 2 books. And what I find the most fascinating about her is that she has a background in engineering, specifically chemical engineering. And so I think that she provides a really unique perspective to our audience on how these chemicals are affecting our health today.
We're seeing such an increase in the testing that I do to look and see what chemicals and metals are present in their bodies that are related to the illnesses that people come to see me about, and sometimes even just as prevention when we're looking to see what people can do to stay and be healthier. The chemical and metal exposure is astronomical.
Wow. What are some of the testing results that you're seeing across the board with your patients? Are you noticing some chemicals are more prevalent than the others?
I am. So I've been doing this kind of testing on patients over 13 years.
Wow.
And so I'm seeing dramatic trends in things like the amount of pesticides like glyphosate, heavy metals, the chemicals that outgas from our environments, something called VOCs.
Right.
All of these chemicals are dramatically on the increase. And as we're looking at illnesses increase, so things like autism and cancer and autoimmune disorders, neurological disorders, and things like Alzheimer's, they're all dramatically increasing. So we have associations in addition to hormone imbalances.
Wow.
How you look around at your friends and your family and how many people feel like their hormones are out of balance. And that's probably also heavily related to these environmental toxins.
So you have 13 years of data that you can see trends, and that's really amazing. So you're looking at it from a scientific standpoint, not just a patient data.
Right. And having had my own health stories, that's part of how I became interested, because I think part of what happened to me as a chemical engineer is those environmental toxins were increasing in my body, and part of why I got sick actually multiple times. And so instead of just looking for, well, what medication can we give or what tests do we need to do to look for things like cancer and dementia, I'm looking for being on the early edge of technology. How can we use some of these testing technologies to really get to the root cause and find out why people are having these sicknesses, these illnesses?
Wow. So if you could say which chemicals are you seeing that are most prevalent in some of this testing?
So one of the things that's really astounding is that almost everybody pretty much everybody I've tested has some level of glyphosate, and most people are in what's a very concerning range.
And glyphosate, for those of you who don't know, is the main chemical in Roundup, what we spray on lawns and things to keep weeds away. I know that.
And then it's also in our food, right?
Right,
so
right.
It's the main chemical that's used to grow things like wheat and corn and soybeans. And then those things also get fed to the animals, and the
Right.
glyphosate's build up in the animals' bodies as well. And now it's also, because it's being used so widely, it's getting into our water supply.
It's throughout our food chain, really. Mm-hmm. So
even people that think that they're avoiding it, they're knowledgeable, they're still getting some, even trying to avoid it.
So one of the things that I point out in my book is that it's so imperative to be knowledgeable about all of these chemicals and how they affect the body, because we can, as consumers, be more proactive, if you will, with our dollars. You know, if I have 2 products and one of them is loaded with glyphosate and is conventionally grown, and one of them is organic and it's more sustainably grown, well, it might cost a little bit more for the organic product, but would you rather pay a few cents more for an organic product now, or would you rather pay with your health later? That's always what I think of it as when I look at those price tags.
Right. And a lot of times you just don't know until you start to research it a little bit more. So that's why I'm so happy you came out with your book.
Thank you.
Help at least get people more aware, because they don't even realize that what they're putting on their skin or hair and what they're eating or how they're cleaning their houses can really make a difference.
Right, right. One of the things I also wanted to ask you about besides glyphosate is the indoor and outdoor air quality. We have talked in the book extensively about the difference between indoor and outdoor air quality. And a lot of times people think, well, if I'm indoors, I'm safe from all the exhaust and things like that on the exterior. But really what they have found, the World Health Organization, for one, has said that indoor air quality can actually be more toxic than outdoor air quality. Can you tell us a little bit about things that you're seeing in the indoor air space that concern you?
So what's happened is, as this initiative to say conserve energy,
right,
we're building these really tight houses. So
sealing all the cracks.
Right. So all the chemicals that are coming into the house don't go out very well. So, if you have a gas stove, or you're spraying a cleaner, or you get new carpet. Actually, new carpet is very, very concerning. There's these little VOC meters that you can have in your house, and I bought a rug, and then I saw my VOCs go up, just into astronomical, like over the testing mechanism amount. And that was even thinking I bought one that was safe.
Wow.
So all of these chemicals actually build up, and then we're breathing them in, and children are even more susceptible to those chemicals, so especially infants and toddlers, because their detoxification systems aren't fully developed and their respiratory rate is higher, so those chemicals just go right into their bodies.
Wow. That's really something to be careful with. And also toddlers and babies, they're touching more things and putting their hands in their mouths. So if you have a new piece of furniture or carpet, like you said, they're not just breathing it in through the air, they're actually physically putting it in their mouths. So that is concerning.
Going through the skin too.
Right.
So they're crawling around on the carpet, and it's going right into their skin. So a lot of people don't realize that what is going on their skin actually goes right into their bodies. So when, as physicians, when we're giving medications, sometimes the best way to get medications into the body quickly is to put it on their skin or have them breathe it in.
Transdermal applications. Yeah, it's amazing. I was having a conversation a while back with someone who said, oh, you can't get anything through your skin because it's a good barrier. And I said, well, wait a second. What about birth control patches and nicotine packages? That's the way that they're transmitting those chemicals. And then they thought about it. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. It's true.
So what I like to say is, if you wouldn't eat it, then don't put it on your skin or your hair if you can avoid it.
That's a good rule of thumb, for sure. Well, I know we were talking about indoor air quality, and there's one topic in particular within indoor air quality that I think touches both of us very deeply, and that's mold. With all of the things on the news right now about flooding, I cringe for these people who have their homes devastated by these floodwaters. Can you talk a little bit about mold and what is it that we should be concerned about? And a lot of times people come up with these symptoms and don't really know that it's mold associated. So if you could talk about that, that would be great.
I would love to talk about that, because it's very concerning seeing what's happening around our country with all the different water exposures. But the thing to know is you basically got 24 to 48 hours to dry out anything that's gotten wet. So whether it's the drywall, the flooring, if you don't dry it that quickly, it's highly likely that mold will grow. And it usually will be hidden. So it'll be behind the wall or behind the shower, behind the windows. So if something gets wet, you've really got to get experts in or do it yourself where you bring in heavy duty dehumidifiers. So the problem with mold is that there are a lot of different types of mold. And some of them, a lot of the outdoor molds, the chemicals that they make as they're growing are not toxic. But a lot of times the indoor ones make chemicals that you're actually breathing in or going through your skin. It's not just the spores, those chemicals.
The mycotoxins.
The mycotoxins
right.
or the MVOCs start to accumulate in the body. And they can cause so many different symptoms. So some people will say, my brain's feeling a little foggy, or you might get a rash, or you might feel nauseated, or just more tired. Or for me, when I'm around mold, one of the things that happens is my hair starts falling out, or I get joint pain or pain in my body. So because there's so many different chemicals, they can cause a lot of different symptoms in addition to the common ones that people think about, like asthma and allergy. That's very commonly associated with it. But a lot of doctors don't even know the impacts of the mycotoxins or the MVOCs that can occur, because we're not taught that in medical school. It's more recent information as the technology is improving to be able to actually test for the mycotoxins in the human body or in the environment. So it's a whole emerging area of medicine that not that many people know about.
I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot more people with symptoms that, just won't be able to, you can't put your finger on it. Like, what is making me sick? And it could just be mold.
It's very likely that it's mold because so many buildings now have been compromised with some type of water leak or moisture accumulation in an air conditioning system. So it's very, very prevalent. I see it in a lot of my patients.
What can someone do if they think that they have been exposed to mold and they're feeling some of these symptoms?
There are actually tests that they can do on themselves to look for the presence of the mycotoxins, or test their house or even their work. Or I'm seeing a lot of children that are impacted by mold in their schools.
Oh, right.
So we actually have a handout on it, and I think you talk about it some in your book too. So the first thing is, if you know that there's been some type of leak, it's highly, and people are getting sick, although not everybody gets sick at the same rate, just get the experts in to go in and start looking for the mold. But if you're just thinking it might be a possibility based on your symptoms, then test.
And you wrote an entire book on mold.
Yes.
So if you want to know even more information, you can find Dr. Shippy's book on mold, which was pretty fascinating.
It's on Amazon, and it's very just practical. Here's a checklist. Here's the things that you can do to test for it. Here's what to look for, and here are some steps that you can start to take to help to get the mycotoxins out of your body.
Great. That's wonderful. I'm glad that there are so many resources out there to educate people about different symptoms that they may be having. A lot of times we go to our conventional doctor and they just write you a prescription for whatever symptom you may be having, but they don't really get to the root cause of why you're feeling this way. And so the more medications that we take, those have side effects too. And so we tend to become this society of polypharmacy and take more and more drugs. But in actuality, getting to the root of the problem and eliminating that problem, like mold, can really just eliminate all of those drugs in your life.
Well, and what I see with patients is that a lot of times they've had some of these symptoms going on for a while. They might feel like their brain's not working as well, or they're a little bit more tired. And the process that's causing these symptoms just starts to snowball. So if you're just, drinking more coffee or
to stay
taking
awake,
the antacid to help with the heartburn, that thing that's really going awry is just going to scream louder and louder. So especially with things like autoimmune disorders, people will start with maybe one thing, like they're having a thyroid or autoimmune disorder, and then it progresses to more and more.
Exactly. I have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder, and so I'm more susceptible to other autoimmune disorders, and I was becoming symptomatic with my thyroid, and I kind of knew that was an option for my path to potentially come down with Hashimoto's or something like that. And luckily, Ann was able to come to the rescue and help me avoid another autoimmune disorder on top of that. So thank you so much. Yay, I know. So what are some of the other tips and resources that you have in your back pocket that you might be able to share?
So there are so many things that we can't control. Like right now, we don't have control of what's changing in our food supply and in the water and in the outdoor air. So I really, it can be so overwhelming to go change everything all at once. But if we just start ticking away at reducing the environmental exposures that we can, and then helping our bodies to eliminate the toxins as much as possible. So by what we eat, we can really dramatically increase how well our bodies zip out the environmental toxins. So actually getting in several servings of really good vegetables a day upregulate our detoxification systems. And then certain supplements can also help us zip the things out as well. And then I love the infrared saunas and sweating every day because we actually release a lot of toxins through our sweat.
And drinking lots of good quality water.
Water's a huge thing because it can be so contaminated and look like it's fine. So actually having a good filtration system is really important, and drinking plenty of water so that it helps to flush our kidneys and help our kidneys to work better.
Right, definitely. And when we were talking about air quality, getting a good air filtration system on your home or office is also very beneficial to get some of those VOCs and formaldehyde and things like that that are in new furniture or carpet, to try to eliminate those as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And if you can't afford a whole house system, at least putting a really good HEPA filter in your bedroom and your children's bedrooms can make a huge difference, because we spend usually, hopefully, because sleep actually helps us to detoxify too.
Definitely.
So having a goal of 8 hours sleep in a room that has a HEPA filter in it would be great.
Isn't it true that when we sleep, we are repairing our body and our cells? So.
And one of the things that's come out in the last year or two is that we actually have a GLIMP system in our brains.
Yes. Yes.
And so that GLIMP, rather than lymph system, it's GLIMP system for the brain, that as we're sleeping, our brains help to detoxify. And that's one of the important prevention things that we can do, because now we know that a whole subset of Alzheimer's disease is actually caused by environmental toxins accumulating in the brain.
And not getting enough sleep.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's so important.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, so if someone wants to learn more about some of the other topics that you cover, can they go to your website?
Yes,
Okay.
We are on a mission to get really great information out into our blogs on the website, AnnShippyMD.com, and then into social media. So we're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful, and I think a lot of people will benefit from some of the items that you talked about today.
That's so wonderful. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your book. It's got great information in it.
Thank you. Thank you.